In a series of unprecedented moves that underscore a determination to reshape both domestic policy and international relations, President Trump convened a meeting with U.S. ambassadors and senior officials to sign a host of executive orders and presidential memoranda. This report examines the multifaceted agenda, ranging from declassification directives and legal reforms to modernization efforts and robust diplomatic appointments. At the outset, the president introduced a memorandum calling for the immediate declassification of all FBI files associated with the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. The document argued that these files are central to understanding what has been described as the weaponization of law enforcement and prosecutorial powers. The administration insisted that, aside from a classified annex, the entirety of the record should be released to the public. According to the briefing, this move was designed to grant the media and the American people unfettered access to the details behind a series of decisions that, in the administration's view, represent a significant abuse of governmental authority. In a related development, an executive order was unveiled that specifically targeted law firms perceived to have engaged in the politicization of legal processes. The order named Jenner & Block as one such firm, linking it to the employment of Andrew Weissmann following his involvement in the Mueller investigation. The administration accused the firm of partaking in racially and sexually discriminatory practices, in addition to contributing to what was termed the weaponization of the legal system. The official narrative suggested that these measures were necessary to safeguard American principles and ensure that the legal framework is not manipulated for partisan ends. In an effort to modernize government financial practices, another executive order was issued to overhaul Treasury payment systems. Historically reliant on paper checks, the government's payment methods have been criticized for being outdated and prone to fraud. The order mandates a shift toward electronic transfers, a move that promises to reduce waste, minimize fraud, and enhance efficiency. This initiative is part of a broader program aimed at modernizing equipment and methods across the federal government. The administration heralded this modernization as overdue and essential for protecting public funds. Perhaps the most sweeping of the measures announced was an executive order focused on election integrity. Argued to be the most far-reaching action taken in the history of the Republic, this order seeks to secure the electoral process by addressing multiple vulnerabilities. Key provisions include the addition of a citizenship question on federal voting forums, the reallocation of federal funding from states that fail to implement robust security measures, and a directive to the Department of Justice to prosecute election crimes rigorously. Additionally, the order called for the revocation of President Biden's Executive Order 14019, which critics claim undermined the integrity of the electoral process. The overarching goal, as articulated in the briefing, was to restore trust in the nation's democratic institutions and put an end to what the administration described as pervasive election fraud. In tandem with these policy measures, President Trump also introduced a rapid succession of diplomatic appointments. Among those named were individuals slated to serve in pivotal roles across the globe, including assignments to France, Monaco, China, the Dominican Republic, Portugal, Panama, Turkey, Canada, Mexico, Japan, Denmark, Luxembourg, Croatia, Chile, and Israel. Each nominee was lauded for their exceptional track record and commitment to advancing an America First agenda. The pace of these nominations was noted to be record-setting, with over 70 appointments in a span of just 2 months. These diplomatic placements are intended not only to strengthen international alliances but also to project American leadership on the world stage during a time of significant global upheaval. The meeting further delved into issues of national security, particularly focusing on the communication technologies used by administration officials. A discussion emerged around the prevalent use of the Signal app, with concerns raised regarding its potential vulnerability to breaches. While some officials defended its utility as the most widely used secure communication platform, others acknowledged that no technology is entirely infallible. The consensus was that the current system would be subject to thorough review, and if necessary, alternative technologies would be sought to ensure that classified conversations remain impervious to intrusion. The technical teams, along with legal advisors, were tasked with examining whether unauthorized access had occurred and to determine the suitability of continuing its use. Internationally, the report highlighted the ongoing diplomatic negotiations, particularly the delicate situation in the Black Sea region. Discussions with the Kremlin and other international players have revolved around a ceasefire agreement, with several conditions needing to be met, sanction relief for banks being a notable point. Although the negotiations are complex and multifaceted, involving between 5 and 6 specific conditions, progress is being made, according to officials. These talks come at a time when the United States is also actively addressing challenges in the Middle East, where hostages are being freed from Iran's sphere of influence and key sea lanes are being reopened to facilitate global trade. Despite significant achievements, the administration lamented that media coverage tends to focus on the controversies rather than on the successes of these operations. Turning to the economic front, the president addressed recent commentary on consumer confidence and price reductions. He noted that, for the first time in decades, consumer confidence is on an upward trend. Highlighting the reduction in prices, especially the notable decline in grocery costs, such as eggs, the administration asserted that these improvements were direct results of strategic interventions. The discussion extended to include plans to implement tariffs designed to protect American industries from economic abuses perpetrated by foreign entities. It was argued that the imposition of tariffs and other trade measures would help reverse trade imbalances, particularly with the European Union and NATO allies. The president emphasized that these policies were aimed at protecting American jobs and ensuring that the country reaps the benefits of its own economic strength. High-profile investments were cited, including commitments from major corporations like Apple and plans by leading automotive manufacturers to build new facilities on U.S. soil. The narrative painted a picture of an economy on the rise, driven by both modern policy initiatives and a renewed focus on protecting national interests. In a candid discussion regarding technology and security, officials acknowledged that while the Signal app remains in use, its imperfections are well understood. There was a call for further investigation into whether unauthorized parties might have exploited any vulnerabilities during a recent attack, an operation described as phenomenally successful despite the technology's shortcomings. The dialogue underscored that although the current communication system is not flawless, the administration remains committed to leveraging the best available technology while planning for future advancements. In a broader context, these discussions reflect an administration that is constantly recalibrating its strategies in response to both domestic and international challenges. On the international security front, the report touched on the conditions set forth by the Kremlin in relation to the Black Sea ceasefire, and how these conditions, ranging from sanction relief to specific banking measures, are being carefully evaluated. The meeting revealed that, despite the formidable challenges, there is a firm resolve to meet these conditions and secure a lasting peace in the region. Simultaneously, the administration critiqued the European Union and NATO for their perceived economic freeloading, arguing that past policies under previous administrations had left the United States bearing an undue financial burden. The president expressed frustration over what he described as a disproportionate financial penalty, with potential liabilities reaching hundreds of billions of dollars, a stark contrast to the more modest sums imposed on European partners. Finally, the economic discussion shifted back to domestic issues, with the president addressing recent reports about consumer confidence and the significant drop in everyday prices. Emphasizing the dramatic fall in grocery costs and fuel prices, he reiterated that these changes were a direct outcome of deliberate policy choices. The narrative stressed that the administration's approach to economic management, marked by strategic tariffs, investment in modernization, and a commitment to reducing waste, was already beginning to yield positive results. In his remarks, the president underlined that these measures not only foster economic growth but also create jobs and restore the nation's competitive edge in the global marketplace. In conclusion, the meeting encapsulated a broad spectrum of initiatives designed to fortify national security, streamline government operations, secure fair elections, and invigorate the economy. Each executive order and memorandum was presented as a deliberate step toward reclaiming American sovereignty and ensuring that the country's institutions function with transparency, efficiency, and accountability. As the administration moves forward with these ambitious reforms, the nation watches with cautious optimism, eager to see whether these sweeping changes will translate into a more secure, prosperous, and unified future for the United States.